Russia is accusing Ukraine of carrying out terrorist attacks on Moscow. Russian defenses say they shot down and destroyed 2 Ukrainian drones that attacked the city earlier today. No one was injured, but Russia has vowed to retaliate. Julia Ioffe joins us now. She is a founding partner and Washington correspondent at Puck. Julia, it's good to see you. Talk to us about what else we're learning from these reported drone strikes in Moscow.
Thank you so much for having me, Liliana. What we're learning is that it seems like one of the targets of the drones was a GRU facility that is the home of one of the cyber units that hacked the DNC servers back in 2016. You might recall the name Fancy Bear. So it seems like that was one of the targets. Some of the drones have blown out windows in these buildings. They've caused minor damage. But the whole point of this is to bring the war home to Russians who, if they support the war, often support it passively, as long as it doesn't affect them, as long as somebody they know isn't drafted, as long as they can just pretend it doesn't exist, that it's happening somewhere far away. The problem with that is we just learned that the Kremlin has forbidden Russian state propaganda, all the various TV channels it controls, from saying anything about the drone strikes. So if people are to find out about it, it's going to have to be through Telegram or through various other social media channels, which will be accessible to Russians only through a VPN.
Wow. Russia, too, though, has ramped up its strikes in Ukraine. Talk to us about what is it that the Kremlin is trying to do with these latest strikes?
Well, it says it's retaliating for a quote-unquote terrorist attack on Ukraine's attack on the Kerch Bridge, which is a bridge that Vladimir Putin built after the illegal 2014 annexation of Crimea, because Crimea is in fact attached by land only to Ukraine and not to Russia. And it turned out after the annexation that it was very hard to get electricity, water, food, etc. to Crimea. So they built that, see those little parts where the pieces of land kind of kiss? That's where that bridge is. And the Ukrainians attacked it because it is one of the crucial supply routes for Russian men and material. And Russia has been retaliating quite viciously, bombing the port cities of Odessa and Mykolaiv on the Black Sea coast, some of the few remaining Black Sea coasts that Ukraine still controls, and from which a lot of the grain that goes to Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia was leaving. Overnight, Russia bombed a major grain depot. So under this cover of saying that they're taking out facilities that could have been used to stage quote-unquote terrorist attacks against Russia, they're actually taking out the infrastructure that would allow Ukrainian grain to leave and to feed the rest of the world.
You know, and with attacks like that, which just end up spilling the impacts of the war across the globe, is there any end in sight? What are your sources telling you about where the war is right now?
Well, the war hasn't moved that much in the last few months. Russia has spent the last 6 to 9 months digging in the southeast of Ukraine. And it's been very slow going for the Ukrainian army, trying to breach those defenses, trying to hack their way toward the Sea of Azov and to cut the land bridge that Russia acquired through the invasion, the full-scale invasion in February of 2022. My sources are telling me that they hope that this is just the beginning, that they expected it to be hard and slow going, and that Ukrainian forces will have more success later. But so far, the Ukrainian army has only advanced a few miles in the first few weeks of the offensive, and there's really no end in sight to this war. The Russian side does not want to negotiate. The Ukrainian side does not want to negotiate. And I think part of the tactics of taking out the grain silos, the fuel depots, and trying to bring the effects of the war to a larger world, to the so-called global South, which has been neutral on the war, is to put pressure on the West to bring Ukraine to the negotiating table, to end this war through some kind of negotiation that would cede the conquered lands to Russia. Unfortunately, Russia has no intention of coming to the negotiating table either.
Quite the reality check there. Julia Ioffe, thank you.
Thanks for having me.